Hello, everybody. This is Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's my weekly update on my sample trading portfolio coming up next. Hello, everybody. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads in the world. And like everybody else, I'll be going out today with my children, my wife, to have some food. Even though there's lockdown, but most likely take away, but at least to celebrate something and sit in the park to enjoy some sunshine. Unfortunately, the weather here in Bath in UK is a bit up and down, and I'm hoping get better next week. Anyway, back to the market. In general, it's not nothing much happened. This last 2-3 weeks now it's very much like a sideways trade, and like last week I said the market's definitely a turn, and this week's continue. So show is in US anyway, so it's ugly ahead. Everything seems to be going sideways a bit, except Nasdaq still trying to attack go back above the 10,000 mark and stay there. It did that couple of days and see if next week can hold. But the worst out of the three major indices in US is really the Dow Jones. It's really having problem break back above the 26,500 area, which is above the 200-day moving average and the 2 ATR stop 2 ATR stop loss line. And this is basically a struggle. It's last week or so trying to break above that, and then come back down, break above it, come back down again. So as if there's some unseen hand or something, big ceiling, and pushing it down. It's not surprising basically for me. Really, I mean, people have been talking about a V-shaped recovery. And depends on what you mean by V-shaped recovery and where. In the general economy, definitely no, it's going to be a long, hard L shape. But the economy going back to V-shape is all because it's U.S. Fed induced. And mainly U.S. Feds, but also all the financial services and regulators and governments around the world pumping loads of money into the system because of the coronavirus things, helping people to stay in the job, pay company, pay some sort of stopgap payments to keep people afloat, so to speak, for a couple of months. But how long can the government do? And also U.S. seems to be every time when there's a huge problem financial market wise, just basically open its purse strings and basically just buy anything. So last couple of weeks we saw that the Dow Jones gone down 1,000 points or something, simply because Jerome Powell come out and say the economy going to take some time to recover, and it's not looking to raise interest rate until 2022 or something. And then the market tanked, and then the next couple of days later on, they come back, I think, Friday a week ago, basically come out and say, well, we're going to buy bonds, not just any bonds, but any company bonds, including, just a notch above junks. I mean, it's more or less like, useless bonds. And the market just suddenly rallied. So basically, it's this: the market is getting a signal from the U.S. Feds to say, if anything goes wrong, I back you up. So just continue to forces people to stay in the market and just flood the market with loads of money. But the problem is the long term, the market have to reflect what the company actually making money or not, and then the price, and get market and price these companies accordingly. But short term wise, we got a lot of money basically shot into the systems by the US Fed, and everything goes up. But long term wise, I want to say, a weighing machine. That's what market is going to do. At the moment, so as I see, the market is not doing well, simply because I mean, you guys probably go to your own town and city, and you probably notice a lot of more people coming out than before. But a lot of shops actually stay shut. Shops that is open have loads of queues because of social distancing, and a lot of things are quite slowed down. And I'd be very surprised if any shops that's open with 50% capacity. I think that would be great. 56% if they can manage it, but it'll be very slow. And because of a lot of shops are closed, a lot of people still on unemployment benefits around the world, and government pay stopgap payments. In UK here they do that, as well as America and other parts of the world. How long can government hold it up? And the real economy, people are not really spend. They spend on food, maybe electricity, a bit of gas, just keep the house afloat. A lot of it not even paying mortgages or rent, and there's just a lot of hidden problems that haven't show up yet. But the stock market just gone up in a V shape, and I think it's way above what is normal. I said before about a month or two ago, I said the market is going to bounce, and basically just bear market rebound, just go make everybody think the good time is back, and the bear market is on again, the bull market is gone again, and the bear is gone, that kind of stuff. But that's not the case, and now we see the market basically gone sideways. I'm really worried that as more people or countries easing its lockdown, people start to come out and see a lot of difference. And of course, a lot of people couldn't find jobs yet, so unemployment rate still could be high. The market's just going to reset its expectation again. So this basically will cause us quite a bit of volatility. Wait the next 6 months or so until the market sort of calm down and see the more relatively stable unemployment rate coming out. Probably 10-15% is probably most known for around the Western world, kind of thing, Western countries, and then the market will price those in. But at the moment, I mean, even from what I understand, discussed and research found is before the pandemic comes in, before February. I mean, the world basically is pricing the perfect way. Everything continue, Hungary, everything go just go to the continue upward trajectory for another year or so. This 10 years, probably 12 years, bull markets continue. That's the people's mentality thinking. Then suddenly, black swan event happens, and then this pandemic just knocked everybody's off its track, and then nobody's expect everybody follow what China does, lockdown of a couple of main cities, and then and country-wise lockdown as well, and now slowly easing. But it still is not sending people around the world, the U.S. To other country in the U.S. for example, through airlines or the ships. It's just like it's just knock-on effect. I just don't see how the stock market can go. But like I said before, many times, trend following, we trade the price. We don't trade the emotion or trade economic fundamental reasons, because people can go extremely high, extremely low both ways, and we effectively trading in the market is trading the emotion of people who are participating in the market. And the algo trader computer trades also just exacerbate to more extremes places. So those are quite interesting. But as far as I'm concerned, the market is basically it should point for a little break. But that's just my personal opinion. Who cares about my opinions, right? The price at the end of the day is the market price that you make the decision, and we make money out of there. The other thing that really happened is two things. Of course, one is about a book from John Bolton. And saying how, just like other books about White House lately, how Donald Trump is a man on himself, man on mission, is do whatever he wants, and, just economics first about anything else, and twisting people's arm, doing all sorts of things behind their back, and try to get himself reelected by, pumping the market, so to speak, get the economy great again. And all sort of stuff. All this speculation that people in Asia, especially thinking China, have to back down because America is so strong, so much better, not just military. Number one, also economics-wise, China is nowhere to be, even try to be number two is going to be very difficult. Let alone try to overtake U.S., America. But as far as I'm concerned, a lot of this is just hot air. I mean, John Bolton's book is basically just shows something else again. That Donald Trump is a cunning businessman. This is not a usual politicians, and it's not going to do its usual thing that U.S. politicians would expect them. He's just going to do one thing alone, the benefit for himself, basically, as far as I'm concerned. And in that case, where his re-election, winning, and also for the American economy. So, I mean, for the country-wise, fair enough, that's what, every president or the head of state do for their own countries, and basically everybody on themselves, everybody's only self-interest, fair enough. But to actually think another country would just back down simply because America got more money and more military muscles than the rest of the world, I don't think so. Especially China is not the old China that 200 years ago in Qing Dynasty, when they are so weak and in my view, quite useless at the time. And everybody from around the world try to get a piece of China. Now China is, number one in Southeast Asia, trying to be number one in the world, and it's not going to, sit down and let America tell them what to do. It's very much a we production of a Britain against U.S. in the old days, 200 odd years ago, and I think that's just similar stuff. China is not going to back down. U.S. is not going to let China raise above its head. So there's probably going to be a fight, but the fight hopefully not as guns and tanks and ships and airplanes, fighter planes and stuff. More like economics fight. So we just see how things goes. And John Bolton's books is just shows quite a lot how things are doing. Donald Trump's doing behind the scene as well. Telling the world one thing, said how bad China is behind the scenes, using China to help him to get re-elected, that kind of thing, which is maybe it's just like any typical cunning businessman will do. And the other thing that really got to me is every time the other thing which I want to say is U.S. keep on saying Huawei is bad. They have the software have or the handset, the equipment is some sort of backdoor, and basically China can just basically force Huawei to pass its data over. I basically disagree with that totally, because I'm in the telecom market myself. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Just use like what I'm sure US have similar thing like the British Telecom in UK as well. Set up a telecom lab locally, in a town, in a city, or in whatever couple of buildings. Just list through all the Huawei's equipment there, the latest software, and go through them, test them through them, and check them, see if there are any sending messages around the world, back to you. Somewhere, nowhere. Let's say you go to China somewhere, or South Asia, some country somewhere, for those kind of backdoor communication. They probably found that it's not doing it. They probably found, most likely, I find quite to my surprise as well, Apple, Huawei followed through after that as well, and Samsung. They send some messages back to a centralized database to unbreaking, we call it. Just worried, because people worry about the phone when they transfer. Especially Apple, for example, is quite status thing. It's quite expensive. Samsung is not similar the case. Well, people might steal the handset. So when the phone start activating itself, knock onto the network, whatever US or UK, they send the data back to a centralized database in Europe or in US, and basically say, okay, this phone is about to activate. Has it been stolen, so to speak? And if not, just let the process continue. And that is something that has been introduced by Apple. I never know about this until much later, when I was looking at network traffics and stuff. That's mobile telecom network traffics, and that happens to spread around the world now. Not just Apple is using it, Huawei is using it. Some other handsets are using, or Samsung definitely using it, that kind of stuff. So those are the things that the countries, network companies should look for. And secondly, the other things that I totally disagree with the Huawei debacle, how American come and actually tell people is, it's not the network equipment that is causing the issue. They know about the leaks and stuff. They can monitor the network, and then basically only certain machinery from another country or software after go through the very frequent testing, and what they have done in UK before they let their own country telecom company to use it. But the other thing they should also, they didn't even talk about, is something called security law. Every country has a security law, okay, that basically to stop, let's say, drug lords, to buying and selling things, and let's say the government get hold of certain numbers, and then basically listen to those phone calls, and track those dangerous people or criminals who try to sell drugs or weaponry around the world, wherever, and listen to them and try to preempt and stop them, that kind of thing. That is security. That's every country have it, and by law they have to go through the court and get a warrant or get a court order or whatever to allow company allow the government or government entities to actually track, let's say, people's phone, let's say, been Aladdin, that kind of thing, those kind of phones and stuff, and see if any of their deputies are making phone calls and calling people and tracking those phone conversation, and that is every country will do that. So, but they don't tell you, this is not everybody talks about it much or nothing, but every country has some sort of security. And then we know on flip side of that is, to quite extreme. Look at America. Remember Edward Snowden? Remember he's saying how U.S. CIA, whatever the U.S. government entity is, listening to other people, not as a criminal in their own country, but also other people within country and outside country. Famously listening to Angela Merkel during a trade talk or conversation between U.S. and Europe, and just try to find out what the other side is actually doing, the tactics and stuff. Those kind of things. Somehow people forget about it. So keep on. American government keep on telling the world Chinese equipment operators are bad. They themselves are the worst one. Okay, they go around and listen to other people, and for some reason, the media just hush it up. Don't talk about it much. A couple of days news and that's it. But U.S. keep on coming back and say Huawei is bad. Huawei is bad. Huawei is bad. Well, I really don't buy it. But then the funny thing is, I think last week or so, the U.S. government said, we'll allow the rural area to continue to use Huawei equipment because I don't know whatever they just basically keep on saying letting China back in. But so what is it that U.S. wants? If U.S. say Chinese equipment Huawei is dangerous, then don't let them come in. Whatever the system, how good they are. That's what the U.S. government should do. But why the hell then suddenly turn around and say, okay, let Huawei coming back in? So is Huawei is dangerous, so dangerous that America's government and some of the senators are saying, then don't let them come in. So why the hell let them come in? Just because price cheaper? The threat is still there if what the U.S. government say is correct. So why they let it out to go back in the U.S.? So it's the end of the day from me, from a nobody, basically looking from outside, just say, well, sort of down to something very similar, price, and also technology. Two things really. Two things. First of all, of course, Huawei's pricing is better. In UK, I've seen it because in the telecom market, they actually do that, also fixed line as well. And it's definitely cheaper. The technology, some of them not the very best, but on the handset and telecom-wise, it is one of the best. And also 5G, they invested a lot of money in 5G. And they got a lot of 5G patents around the world, in US and UK and around Europe and around the world as well. They own like half or 60% of all the 5G patents around the world that's been granted. And for, so even the 5G, they won't allow Huawei handset or equipment coming into US. US manufacturer or European manufacturer through US as well, consumer have to pay because the license for using the patents, unless they go to reinvent the patents in other way and reinvent the wheel in 5G is more geared towards US and European style, that kind of thing. But that would set the whole European countries or US market back another maybe 5 years, at least a couple of years. And remember, Huawei has been as far as I'm concerned, in UK anyway, quite competitive in pricing and been into the telecom market for a while now, as well as on fixed line. To actually get rid of the Huawei, replacing them, to stop them replacing the equipment in all the operators cost billions. Now, will the operator actually pay for it? No. Will the government, UK for example, or US pay for it? No. And so all this is just tit for tat. And so overall, it's just very politics, backdoor going through, probably saying how China is, how bad it is, but at the end of the day, they still use it because, they don't want the US don't want to get left behind. The other thing, I think other countries really, listening to US on that front, on technology front, is they see how Donald Trump's come on power, and then basically they go around the world. The US accord, with the France on the weather kind of things, come already, don't already turn his back on it, and then also upsetting Mexican as well as Canadians for the pre-agreement previously that was made, and then basically just torn the paper and then create a new one. Do the same thing with Europe and other partners, and basically also Iran as well. So overall, the message from U.S. government, the current U.S. government, is I can do whatever I want. I can turn around and undo all the their predecessor, previous U.S. administration have agreed with other countries. All the agreement can just torn apart. Depends on how Donald Trump feel. And that is how a head of state do business with other country, with other head of states. We think other head of state will just listen and not, follow through maybe on the surface, but behind the scene, they also want to have to do self-interest for themselves as well, for their own countrymen, and for their own country's interest. They not just go listen to US and do whatever. And so I think that's more come out to service. And then overall, of course, all this try to stop Huawei coming in into US or into the world is a bit pathetic. So I'm concerned. This is supposed to be capitalism, right? The best company wins, right? The one that with the best equipment, the best pricing, best customer service, that kind of thing. If you really think they are bad, then don't use it. Don't just can say 1 minute say we don't use you because you're dangerous or from country that I don't like, and then next minute come back in but only limited entry, only able to supply us on those things. But what about this danger that you keep on talking about? If it's dangerous, you don't let them in. It's about a virus. Virus dangerous, you don't let them in. You want to kill them, you want to stop it. Why suddenly let back in? It's very strange. As far as I'm from an outsider look at it, it's really, really silly. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a lot of just dirty politics. Next is, of course, very sadly, I think came out on Friday or something. There's a Robinhood trader in the US basically found out he owned $730,000 on the apps, on the handset, and then take his own life. It's really, really sad that this actually happened. But it shows up a couple more things. Is during the last, March and April time, when the crude oil suddenly gone down negative minus $37 per barrel. I already said in my previous podcast that the U.S. regulator, as well as the market maker, in this case the crude oil WTI, basically doing things, changing rules to try to hurt other participator people taking part in those places, in those trades, and especially in this case, it's just hurting their own retail investors. They hurt other people from around other countries as well, but basically just changing the rules. And then people still hasn't learned from that mistakes and just piled into the stock market. The return investor in general, from what I research and see and understand, is a lot of people especially the younger generation, the younger ones in US, they might have problem, putting food on the table and stuff, but they because they're locked down, stay at home, watching Netflix all the time, they feel bored, and so they also want to make some money in general. So they use a lot of, going to suddenly do day trading when they have hardly done anything before, go on the internet. Robinhood traders is sort of, good for small trader investors, retail investors, because they break down the trade. Basically, one Apple share, you can put it down like 10% or something, that kind of thing. Very small packages, and buy and sell those. So a lot of people with very little bit of money can participate in the market. But also because of the this temporary unemployment money that coming in from America government to give away everybody in US, more or less, a working person. So a lot of people, younger generation, just use this money and try to make a quick buck on the internet, doing day trading, watching lots of YouTube, just follow those people. And then, of course, sometimes, some drastic things could happen because a lot of people might be over-leveraged themselves, who have very little experience before on this kind of thing, and lose a lot of money. So there was statistics, I think it's like Robinhood tracker or something to basically track how many people new account log on to Robinhood, or how many new investors in general, retail investor, have gone into the stock market and trade since March or something. Suddenly a major increase of account being open at the same time when people were basically under lockdown, stay at home, watching Netflix, cannot go out, that kind of thing. So people are going online, doing day trading, try to make money. The small investor, retail investor, basically they haven't got much money, but because of the numbers involved, they are become a force into the market and drive the market up. So this is part of that as well. It's not just US Feds, apparently. So it looks like the retail investors is also in the making. However, just like the crude oil debacle, I'm very worried that retail investor in US is going to get burnt because it's always the case of small potatoes, small people who have lack of experience, lack of education, trading wise, and also lack of emotional control. They just want the quick money for looking the market, stock market like a lottery, like every share is like a lottery ticket, and trying to make some very quick money. At the end of the day, they short term might probably win when the markets continue to go up with the Feds go pumping lots of money coming in. And if you have another sudden turn around like a couple of weeks ago, when the market gone down 1,800 points, and let's say February, end of February, early March, debacle happens again, and the market suddenly drops with the second wave of pandemic comes through. What happens then? They probably get killed. A lot of their account will get hurt, and they don't even have money to put all this new young trader will not have money to survive, basically, and that's really a worrying market. And this is also showing how I feel the bear market. That the bear market is when everybody else gone in, especially people who don't normally go into stock markets and they go in and talk about it and making money. The worst thing is making money. That is a big warning sign, just like the dot-com bubbles. That happens. So this is another warning sign to tell me this is bear market rebound. You have sudden large move of prices. A proper bull market takes a long time. Okay, just look at the last big drop in March, and then now this recovery. From February to March, it took like 3 weeks to draw down like 10,000 point US Dow Jones, and it took the next 6 to 8 weeks when the Fed said, pump money into the market for the stock market to recover more or less, to down like 10% or something. So you see the ferocity of bear market. When something bad happens, everybody dump the share. So it gone down very quickly. And when people start buying shares, it's a relatively slower process. So when the big bad roof comes out again, so to speak, and the market is full of small retail investors, they're going to get hurt. They would not be able to get out because the ego is in play, and they don't have a system, and they don't have emotional control. They don't have a really stop loss or good control of their own, stop loss level and get out. Half a shot is still better than no shot. Okay, that kind of stuff. But they don't want to make the shot back and then some more from the market, from the same stock. And I'm just worried that this is just another sign to show you, how this is not a general recovery of the economy, which we see already, and the stock market is totally joined between the actual real world and the stock market world. And then I just think there's just gonna be some gray rhino coming through, and then just knock everybody on the sixes, and lots of retail investors lose the money. That aside, I also noticed, of course, the other thing this week is China and US some reason meeting again. Why the hell are they meeting when US is keep on saying China is bad character? China is letting the virus coming through, China this, China that, and Australia doing similar things. They want to find origin of things. And then now the world knows that there's like 3 strands. China got the emergence of the virus, coronavirus, and it looks like this time it's more imported from another country. So where does it come from? Nobody knows at the moment. But everybody's looking for somebody to blame, and everybody seems to point their fingers to China. So at this stage, especially that's the biggest cheerleader, the U.S. keep on telling the world, and the so-called Five Eyes keep on saying, the U.S. say China is bad, Australia follow through, say China is really bad, and then UK say something similar. Europe sort of, but try to play a cool hand to say we need to find out where things are, where things come from, and so forth. And with this backdrop, why the hell U.S. and China gonna talk? In Asia, people are thinking China is backing down. they have been made to go and talk to America. Well, if that is the case, well, especially on Pompeo and Donald Trump, and that after the meeting on last Wednesday, they should have come out and say, "Oh, we forced China to do A and B and C, whatever." But nothing, not even news. It's all behind closed door. Nobody's really reporting it. And one funny thing though, is we all heard about the security law, that Hong Kong version of security law, that China is trying to pass that. And a lot of countries, US and Europe and UK, is very vocal about it. Suddenly, after the meeting on Wednesday, China basically started to debate that, to try to make that into law properly, next couple of months or something. And previously, the rest of the world came on jumping up and down, say, "You do this, I'm going to, put a trade, tariff on you," those kind of things. Special law against certain, Chinese Hong Kong government members or something, blah blah blah. But China seems to just continue. So I don't think this meeting was very fruitful. China's basically just continue. And why the hell America not want the world to know what the hell it's doing, especially given Donald Trump? When they got something nice, something that's in favor, he's got to blast it out. He's just got to say something. Pompeo as well keep on saying how bad China is. If they got something, that China back down one way or another, both these two characters should have come out, but they didn't. Everything hushed up, everything really quiet. So as far as I'm concerned, it's more like this debating in Hong Kong at the moment. There's a lot of backdoor, underhand, under the table kind of handshaking going on, and basically more like, I think Donald Trump could be doing this. This is just conspiracy. That's what I heard from internet and rather what I read as well, books and newsletters and stuff is. U.S. is asking China to continue buying agricultural products and stuff, which is what is agreed to do anyway. So that all these on the surface bakery arguments doesn't hurt that trade going through. And then China basically got some sort of note from U.S. to say, "Oh, and I'm going to pass the Chinese Hong Kong version of security law," and U.S. could just keep quiet. And I think that might be, actually happening. And I mean, this is just a guess, but China shouldn't just continue. China already tell people around the world, especially America, to mind their own business, so to speak. And I totally agree to that. But then for China, after the meeting to suddenly, I think sort of like, speeding up the process of trying to pass or debate that law and try to pass that Hong Kong security law is quite telling. And U.S. didn't say anything, and so it's around the world didn't say anything. I suppose U.S. Doing this behind closed door with China is, didn't tell UK, for example, Australia, but we'll see how it goes. But one thing for sure, though, we've seen how Australia get punished. Either you like this term or not, been trying to find out if China or WHO and the other country medical staff or expert going to China and find out where the pandemic, the COVID-19 actually comes from. But China basically already said, Australia being, following U.S. government doing things and put a ban on Australia beef and agricultural products. And now, of course, the recent unfortunate event of George Floyd death and the Black Lives movements around the world in Europe and Australia, and because of the pandemic as well, there's a lot more incidents in UK as well, and of people are against the Chinese, so to speak. Going around walking around the street, and you get call names, and some of it actually captured in Australia. On their own TV news. Some Asian Chinese was being punched, kicked. And to be fair and honest, I'm from Hong Kong. Okay, Hong Kong Chinese. It's well known Australia is quite racist. Full stop. Sorry, Australian, but they've quite sweep up their lips and say they're not racist. In general, they have this underlying tone, very much like America as well. It's underneath it, and a lot of things are being covered up, as far as I'm concerned. And this pandemic basically just showed that unease under the surface coming up. So again, people trying to get out of, to get the Chinese, blame the Chinese, find people to blame. And this actually had happened. And then it shows up on TV and stuff. So China basically say, well, Australia is not safe to travel at this time because of the underlying, racism, and also terrorist students. And not, when you go to Australia, be careful and think about it. And that, to me, is basically China's flexing its muscle, using Australia as an example to say to the world, don't stop messing with us. You mess with us, well, you cannot have one, which is fair. You cannot go to China and say, I like to trade with you, give me the money on this one. You're a bad person, you're no good. Then you want to trade or not? You want to be a good trading partner or not? There's problem both sides. Don't say China has got no problem, or Australia got no problem, or US or UK doesn't have problem. We all have problems, but I think trade, trading our ideas, our food, our and so forth, resources and stuff, to make money that everybody happy, and then try to work on the other typical issues slowly would be a better way than pointing fingers. China basically told the world, say, well, you want to do business or not? You want to poke at me at the other points, and sorry, I poke back at you. Now China has been, especially the last 3-4 months, very much more vocal, not just against the US government, but also to UK and Australia, and also to, of course, and very unfortunate to Canadian as well. And I just see that politics-wise, China is not going to just take it. And already shown to the world last 2-3 months, and we just have to see how things goes. But as far as I'm concerned, this politics is just making the market a lot more volatile, and we never know how things are. Now the market seems to be going up quite a lot, recovery a lot in the stock market anyway, but what might happen, who knows? And also the other thing is, it's more on the US side, also in Hong Kong as well, like Alibaba and JD.com, the one that create a drone, that had one of the best drone as far as I'm concerned, drone machine. It's basically having a second placing back in Hong Kong, in Hong Kong market, and that is just basically is to preempt any Donald Trump sudden decision to say U.S. Pension funds or any funds in U.S. not allowed to buy China-based company in America stock market. So they have a second listing in Hong Kong, that kind of stuff. So this is not going to stop. This is going to continue. The big boys just continue to move. I think they got the stories, they got a lot more people lining up to do a second listing in Hong Kong and slowly just drive out or getting out of the U.S. market, just because in case Donald Trump suddenly use, Alibaba, for example, as an example, to just say U.S. pension fund not allowed to buy Alibaba, his executive order. It's not good for U.S. Pension fund, stock industry, stock markets as whole, and it's not good for China as well. So they just basically this, Alibaba is moving, JD.com's moved. And other countries, other companies in based in China and have a listing in U.S. probably going to move in another listing into China and Hong Kong as well. So we just have to wait and see. Well, this is basically what's happening last week. So a lot of things are actually happening, but a lot of it may not have much to do with the stock market, because stock market seems to define the general consensus, so to speak, and the economy is not doing well around the world. But I suppose this war of money for American from around the world have to go somewhere, and just gone to the stock market. But what goes in very quickly can get out very quickly as well. So as far as I'm concerned, I smell and see some bad sign, dark clouds coming, but the price of the stock market still sort of from last week have changed size, so to speak, the main indices, and then some of the stock I'm tracking. So I think next couple of weeks we'll see that continuing, and we just have to watch out. And when the market turn, you have to turn. When your system tell you to, don't marry to your trading position or whatever your profit is. Until your trade is being closed and the money gone into your bank account, is still the market's money. But so be careful of things suddenly turn around because geopolitics running around, and we'll see how things go. Okay, so I think I've moaned enough. The next is my normal portfolio update. Okay, first of the bat is, of course, Apple. Short term is a sell like last week, medium and long term still buy. Amazon continue to find the gravity, so to speak, has been doing so last month or so now, yes. Basically, it's buy across the board, so short term, medium term, and long term is a buy. Australian dollar against US dollar, short term is a buy, long term is a buy, medium term is also a buy, so that's good. And Brent crude, short term is a buy, medium term is now a buy too, like last week, and long term is neutral. Similarly to crude oil, WTI, short term is a buy, medium term neutral, long term is neutral. DAX in Germany, short term is a sell since last week, medium term is a buy, long term now is a buy as well. So a little bit of change on the long term side. Dow Jones continue to be sell since last week. Short term wise, medium and long term is also neutral. FTSE 100. Basically, short term is a sell, medium term is a buy, long term is neutral. Gold, well, we've seen last Friday for some reason it's just gone up like up to 1750 or 1745 area, suddenly moving from 1712, 1720. So we just basically have to wait and see. It's quite funny though, the US dollar index seems to recover a bit and gone back up to 97.50 or something like that, from lowest I think just below 95 or something, or 96. It bounced back, but the gold didn't seem to move much except from Friday, so I don't know what's going on, but definitely gold at the moment is just going up and down at the moment. So 1 minute is a buy, next minute is a sell. So short term wise, gold has been is a sell for this week. Short term, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong, short term is a sell this week. Medium and long term is neutral. So all this sideways trade in Hong Kong is happening as well, just up and down, it's quite volatile. Nasdaq in US, long term is a buy, medium is a buy. Short term now is also changed to a buy as well. So short term has changed to a buy from sell last week. Well, it's not surprising because Nasdaq really tried this out of the three main major indexes I said earlier. At the start of the podcast, Nasdaq seems to be the best. Try to stay above the 10,000 and try to break back above it. We just see how it goes. Nikkei in Japan, short term it changed from sell to buy. Medium and long term is a buy, so a slight change in there. Silver, well, it's a sell. Short term, medium term is neutral. Long term is a buy. US dollar against Japanese yen, sell for short term, medium, long term is neutral. British pounds, sorry, no, I think I'm missing mistakes. So okay. The last one is Chinese yuan. So US dollar against the Chinese yuan. Short term is a sell. Medium term and long term is neutral at the moment. Okay, so next is US dollar against Japanese yen. Short term is a sell. Medium term is neutral. Long term is a sell. British pounds against the Japanese yen. Short term is a sell. Medium term is neutral. Long term is a sell now. That's changed from last week from neutral to sell. British pound against US dollar. Short term is a sell. Medium term is neutral. Long term is a sell. Bitcoin. Haven't done much, more like sideways trade, still struggling, go back above 10,000 mark, just like Nasdaq. But it's still short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. The iShare 20, the CFT track the bond market in US, short term is still a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is neutral. So from here you probably see it's more a continuation from last week. It's quite a bit of short term have changed from buy to sell, and this week some more just changing to sell as well. The other worthy noting is of course the British pounds is like I think on Thursday it said the US governor bank governor said he's going to do some more purchasing of bonds and stuff. So basically that kicked the British pounds down a notch, and so against other things gone down. So British pound is still weaker. But as far as I'm concerned, out of everything in Europe, I think British pounds is struggling the rest, but I think it's going to recover quite quickly, especially this coming out of Europe. should happen end of this year either way. And I think British wants it of its own, more its own right to call its own shot on its own currencies as well as finance as well as migration rules and stuff. I think it will quickly bounce back, but we just have to wait and see. I mean, this pandemic is hurting everybody. Britain and UK basically is not any difference get hurt. So we just have to wait and see. The other thing that's quite, of course, is the Bitcoin continuation not bringing about 10,000. Nasdaq's having a difficulties trying to stay back about 10,000. Try. We'll see how it goes this week. And of course, the Dow Jones. I really worry with Dow Jones at the moment. The 200-day moving average for me anyway, for my long-term system, is quite major. And for my charting in general, when I see a price have problems staying breaking above the 200-day moving average or gone above there for about a week or two and then come back down again, that's a major no-no. Basically, it's just lack of will, or the ceiling. 200-day moving average is a ceiling. It's getting quite strong for the market. So Dow Jones for me basically is a bit of a sticky situation at the moment. So watch out, guys. And the other thing, I think US dollars, Australian dollar against US dollars. I don't know how people feel about the US dollar index. It's still coming up. It is a lot of people in Asia, especially thinking US dollar will go down, especially all this money being printed. But everybody, so it does everybody else. So who's basically print most and basically gone to the dump first, and then which one rebound first and quickest. We've seen that happen in 2008. When everybody around the world is printing loads of money, US seems to have recovered quickest, so the US dollar seems to come back up again, that kind of stuff. So we just have to wait and see how the US dollar index is going to play out. But one thing I want to watch out for is the Australian US dollar. It might benefit from the reduction of the US dollar strength, but also it has problem. Of course, Australia having a spat politically as well as trade-wise with China, that doesn't help them. Also, Australia last year and this year, I believe, as well, the bushfire. You try to recover from the bushfire, which was very devastating as far as concerned. Then suddenly we have a pandemic that hurts everybody. Okay, it doesn't affect them as much as the rest of the world, but it still affects them because other trading partners are deeply affected. And now they're having its own little version of trade spat with China. Hopefully that don't escalate. Otherwise, Australian dollar could, gone down a little bit, but background US dollar is really weak as well. I just wonder who is gonna win out, the Australian dollars against strength because of US dollars gone down, or the US dollar gone down get weaker because of trading issues with China. We just have to wait and see, but it's quite interesting actually watching that. And the other thing I want to also say is, as people lock down, coming out from their respective cities and countries, going around within their own border, the crude oils continue, could strengthen. So about 40 marks, about the same, 40, 45, will be the same as before the pandemic. That's what my guesses are, but let's see how it goes. The market seems to follow creating the long-term trend and still up, short-term wise anyway. So we just have to wait and see on those stuff. And the other thing I need to maybe a bit too early, but at least something as part of my 6 months review of my trade. I'm sort of looking at that now from last week onwards, just slowly just building it up. One thing I see that, okay, the world might not like air traveling in the moment. Airbnb totally tanked at the IPO. And that affected my buy to let as well, renting out to students. A lot of students are not going back into the school. They go online. University students are affected, and especially in university nowadays. A lot of countries are not basically supplementing it with government grant, so to speak, and a lot of universities, especially in US, become a sort of like a market on its own to basically attract foreign students, and lately for the last 5 years, so mainly it's with China. But with the air traveling lockdown and might not start until later in the year, I think the education side of things for a lot of universities going to be quite affected for this coming academic year in September and October. But over long term, I see the next 6 months or so, this going to be play out on this bit. But then I think later on, hopefully, by then, maybe in the next 12 months or so, we got some sort of vaccine going on and start to be mass produced and available, and people having, countries-wise, around the world, better testing. There's some sort of, vaccines available, some sort of treatment for this COVID-19, and then people will start coming out. So I think, for long-term economics-wise, it's not trend following, but it's fundamental. Hopefully, trend which catch up later on is that air travel will come back up again, and then the crude oil has gone up. So something worthwhile to watch next 6 months. Just watch it. Basically, the crude oil, the travel industry, and then the hotels. Those kind of things. Just go in and see. There will be quite a lot of consolidation as far as concerned. But those one that survives, and with the stock that's gone down a lot, very very quiet. And moving forward, I think watch out in those stocks, and they are likely for fundamentalists anyway, for pension funds and stuff. Good things to pick up for better recovery chances. I'm sure. I mean, students who still need to be, going around the world studying, might not go to US, might go to Europe more, or Britain maybe as well, or Southeast Asia. Traveling, people might travel a lot more. China is still a big hub for traveling internally as well as externally. It might have its bad with its neighbor because COVID-19, but people getting more money, richer, definitely. They come out a bit more traveling and looking around a bit more. So I think traveling, it might be in the dump at the moment. Okay, but I think it has its potential, and just basically watch out. Those who have survived this basic COVID-19 and a bit of trade war, we just have to will be the better one that come out of it. We just have to watch out, and then the hotel chain as well. They're definitely hurting at the moment. And we just see how it goes. I'm not sure about gambling though. On the other side, gambling is something that might work or might not work. So we just have to wait and see. So this is just my 2 cents worth of the update, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.